Hello, hello, welcome back. It's Cheryl from Schmidt Artistry. I'm so glad you could join me again today. Once again, I am taking part in the color challenge, the July color challenge over on the Mixed Media Emporium Facebook groups page. I'll leave the link to that down below, as well as Kylie Koo Studios and Nina Verbena. I'll leave links to both of their channels down below in the description box for you. So the color prompt for this week is complementary colors. And complementary colors are basically opposite colors on your color wheel. They will make brown if you mix them together, essentially. So if red is your, if red is your main color, if red is your pure color, directly across it is green, and if you mix red and green together, of course, you're going to get brown. Orange and blue are directly across from each other. Yellow and violet are directly across from each other. So that's how you figure out your complementary colors. I like having pops of complementary colors in a project when I'm working, because it does tend to make the colors a little more intensified when they're side by side like that. In today's project, I am going to make the red violet as my main color. And so I'll be working with the yellow green and the yellow as the contrast colors. And I'm going to be working with alcohol inks today, just to mix it up a little bit. So the alcohol ink colors that I've chosen to work with today is Citrus, Mojito, and Limeade. Those are the three greens that I'm going to work with. The purples that I'm working with is Wild Plum, Boysenberry, and Wild Plum. Those, got two wild plums. No wonder they worked so well together. Sorry about that. Let me see what else I have in here that I could work with. We need red violet. Got quite a large selection, but I'm having trouble picking another purple that I want to work with. I think we'll just be working with these two purples. I don't really have another red purple that I can pull into the mix here. So this I think is going to be, let's put purple Twilight in there. All right, so those will be the three purples that I'm going to use: Boysenberry, Wild Plum, and purple Twilight. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lids off of those inks just to make it easier to work with. And what I've done with all of my inks, not sure how well you can see that, the colors on the tops. What I did is I took and I put a drop of white nail polish on the top of each of the lids, and then I put a drop of the alcohol ink color on top of the white nail polish, so that I put the right lid on the right alcohol ink bottle when I'm done creating. Just because sometimes it's really hard to get the right lid back in place, and if you put a green lid sometimes on a different colored bottle, the outsides get all messy. It's anal. It's an OCD thing. And then I'm going to work with a metallic as well, and I'm going to work with the statue in the alloy line as well. I like to use 99% rubbing alcohol with my alcohol inks, as well as a little bit of the blending solution. So the first thing I'm going to do, oh yeah, and you're going to want a blower of some kind. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a fairly generous line of rubbing alcohol kind of right across the middle, and then I'm going to drop some of the green going across that alcohol line. I'm also going to make sure you've shaken your alloys up really, really well. I'm going to put probably about 3 drops of the alloys in there as well. And you have to have a drop or 2 of blending solution with your alloys in order for your alloys to stay adhered to your Yupo paper. I am working on Yupo paper again today. It is my preferred paper for alcohol inks. All right, I'm gonna just start using my blower to blend those colors out. I will add some more alcohol and blend that out some more. I want a little bit more of the limeade in there. Maybe a little bit more of the limeade in over here. Don't be afraid to add more alcohol ink if you feel you need it. And as you can see, or I'm not sure if you can see, the metallic alloys have separated and gone kind of out towards those outside edges. I'm going to put just a little bit more blending solution in those spots where I've got some of the alloys. See if I can lift them up. They have settled a little bit down to the bottom, and that's okay, that happens. But a lot of the alloys have come out to the outside edges, and it looks like gold flaking. It's really hard to pick up on camera. In person, it has a completely different look and feel to it, of course. All right, so that is my green, yellow layer down. And I want that to be basically dry before I move on to my next color. So I'm going to hit that very carefully with my heat gun. You want to be careful anytime you use a blow dryer or heat gun on Yupo paper, because Yupo paper is a plastic paper. It will melt. So I hold it up quite a distance from my paper and I give it just a second or 2. I have a few puddles that just don't want to quite dry, so I'm just going to hit them with the pump here a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to turn my paper around. Nothing is hot because I didn't hold the heat gun close enough or long enough. Just making sure there's no residual spots. Everything looks dry. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in with a fairly decent amount of alcohol on this side again. And we're going to do the purples. And I'm just going to do the same thing, splatter them in there. I am going to just slightly tip my paper so that they don't come back onto the green too much. And again, we want to put a couple drops of the alloys in there with the blending solution. And then we want to start, not doing it like that. You want to just blow a little bit on the gentler side and get that started and get those colors moving. You can see the gold or the coppery flake a little bit more on the purple side than you could the green side. Want to get a little bit more ink over here. There we go. I'm not upset about the purple splatters that made it across onto the green. That just adds a layer of texture and some fun. When you're working with alcohol inks, you really do have to let go of control and really just be okay with whatever happens and whatever it is you get for a look. While you can manipulate them, they do tend to just basically do what they do. So these gold flakes over on this side, I'm just trying to break that up a little bit more. But overall, I really, really like what I've got going. You also have to keep in mind when you're working with alcohol inks, if it's a really hot, humid day, your alcohol is going to dry quick, but the moisture in the air can cause some havoc with how your inks and your alcohol react and how they dry, how they move. Water is the enemy of alcohol ink. All right, so for the most part, that is dry. Okay, I'm gonna hit that again with my heat gun for a second. Alright, that's about as dry as that is probably going to get with my heat gun, so I'm just going to blow any little puddles that are left. You do want your background to be completely dry before we move on to the next step. Alright, and I see my battery light is flashing, so I am going to go recharge my camera and give this a chance to completely air dry, and I will be back to show you the next step. Alright, so I'm back. Everything's dry. Don't you just love though those two colors side by side, those complementary colors? They just really make one another look way more vibrant when they're stacked like that. So now I want to make some bubbles or some circles kind of down the middle here. So I've got a couple of different shot glasses. They're small, they're fairly heavy shot glasses. I'm going to start off by putting some alcohol into a little cup. I'm going to dip my cup in, and I want to give it just a second or two to kind of drip off. And I'm going to put 2 or 3 drops of alcohol down and put my cup over top of that alcohol that I released. And the weight of the cup is going to keep the alcohol from coming out. But if you're finding that you're getting more alcohol escaping and leaving than what you'd like, then just come in with your a little puffer or a blow dryer and just very carefully, very gently puff and just keep that alcohol in. Try and keep it inside the rim of the cup. Not really moving the alcohol at this point. It's just a gentle breeze to just kind of keep it in place. All right, and on to my next one. And like I said, I do let that cup rim just drip for a minute or two, a second or two before I move on, because we don't want a ton of that coming off. And again, I'm just going to put 2 or 3 little drops of alcohol and put my cup down over top. Sorry, I'm once again sitting on my really noisy chair. I'm gonna have to oil that, I guess. All right, and I'm just gonna take and just blow that, make sure that the alcohol is staying inside. A heavy glass cup will help keep that alcohol from escaping more than what you want. I do push it down as well and try and kind of form a suction around there. All right, we'll let that finish. I'm going to come back up to this first cup that we put down, and I'm going to lift that up, and then I'm going to just gently from a distance blow down and dry, because I don't want that any wet alcohol to continue to seep and move. This is a great technique to use when you've got colors that play nicer together, you know, your tone on tones and stuff like that, as the blending that you get in the middle is really pretty. This one you have to be careful because sometimes you can make that muddy brown color. All right, I want to put another one in. I think this time I'm going to come way over here into the green. And again, I'm just gently gonna blow just to keep that alcohol from moving too far away. And if you do get lots of bleed out around your cup, not to worry. It's just gonna be another layer, another interest of your project. All right, I'll let that finish drying and I'll lift this and see what we have. Oh, that's so pretty. And again, just from a distance, I'm going to puff that down and dry that. There we go. All right, next circle. Where do I want to put that next circle? Let's see. I think I'm going to come back onto the middle. I've got a spot here that I'm not thrilled with, so I'm going to put my alcohol there and put it like this so it's a little bit more on that green side again, and just and you may have noticed that I don't clean off my glass rims. If the color transfers over, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. Alright, so once I let go of that cup a little bit and the suction broke, and then the alcohol started to seep out. There we go, and we'll come back up to this cup here, and again from a distance. I don't want to move any of the ink, I just want it to dry. There we go, and let's do one last circle, and let's do it down here, way out in the purple. I think that should be a good spot for it. Oh, and I'm off camera there. Let's see, can I slide that up? Perfect. And like I said, I am pushing down fairly hard to start with to keep that alcohol from from moving out. I'm just doing little soft light puffs, as I'm not really trying to move the alcohol. I just want to keep it in place, as I don't want it spreading too far. All right, and let's come back to this one here, and let's lift that and see what we have. This one almost looks like it's smiling and his tongue is sticking out there. Alright, and let's lift this and see what we have going on. And again, from a distance, just puffing to dry that little bit of alcohol that is still wet so it doesn't move. There we go. I like that. Now, I wish I had a smaller circle. Just give me a minute. I'm gonna go see if I can find something that will work, because I think I want a few more circles in there. I want some smaller circles, so I will be right back. All right, I'm back. I managed to find just a little top off of a hairspray bottle. I'm not 100% sure how well this is gonna work, but we will give it a whirl here. I don't think I'm going to put any ink underneath, as I do believe it will be too much. So we'll run that into the alcohol ink there, give it a second to kind of drop off. And then let's see, let's put that there. I think because it's so lightweight, you're gonna have to hold it down in place while that alcohol dries. Make sure when you're working with alcohol inks that you're working in a well ventilated area. As you know, alcohol does definitely stink. There are toxins, in it, so please use caution and safety when working with this product. If you're going to be spending, all day working with it and it's going to be enclosed, I would say, maybe look at a respirator mask or something while you're working with it. But if it's on, just the rare occasion and you've got lots of space, I think you're okay to go without. Okay, so I'm going to try and lift that. See what we get. Very much a defined circle there, a ring. If you were, it's cute, I don't mind it. So let's do some more here. This time, let's do an actual drop of alcohol and see what happens. Again, I think it's gonna take a little bit of drying. I don't want to fast forward through some of this process, as I feel it's important for you to get an idea for how long some of this actually does take, what the real-time implications are. All right, let's lift that and see what we have. All right, so I don't mind that either. So there's a big difference. I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell. So because I put the drop of alcohol on this one, it really lightened the color and softened that color out. Whereas this one, I just had the alcohol in the rim of the lid, and so it left the color in the middle of the bubble intact. Kind of a different look. I think I like this better. And I like that we got that muddy brown color when we mixed that green and purple together. So I want to, I'll leave that one the way it is, but I think any other circles I do, I'm going to definitely put that drop of alcohol underneath. Give that a minute to just dab off. Let's put, a small one right here. There's some metallic flake there, so I want to see what happens to that metallic, if it'll move. So I'm going to start by squirting air down from quite high up. I know that sound is probably a little bit annoying with the camera picking it up, but I want to start high, start far away. That just keeps that alcohol from dripping all the way out. All right, and let's lift that, and there's still a fair bit of alcohol there, so just light, 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 light. To dry it. And the farther away you are when you're blowing, the less you'll move that alcohol. So that's all dry now. So I like on that one, it moved all the color out of the way, but it left that metallic in place, which is really quite cool. So let me know in the comments below how you best like working with alcohol ink. Do you like to experiment and play and do different things? Do you tend to just do alcohol blends and do backgrounds with it? Do you use it primarily to recolor metallic objects? What's your favorite medium to work on? Do you like working on Yupo paper? Do you like working alcohol ink on glass? Alcohol ink on tiles? Ooh, that one really gave me a really fun, oh sorry, I was off camera the whole time. I am so sorry. So that really gave me a fun circle within a circle. I love that. And let's do one more of these. Maybe there. Or do I want to come? I think maybe we'll do a counter circle over here. All right, one last dip into the alcohol. Give it a minute or two, second or two to drip dry. Let's put a drop of alcohol down. And again with the blower, I'm on camera this time. I'm really sorry I was off camera last time. I forgot to look up and check. So if you're new here, I encourage you to hit the subscribe and the like button down below. If you hit the little bell button right beside the bell icon, it'll notify you every time I upload a new video. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back to spend some time with me to see what kind of mischief I'm up to in the studio today. I really do appreciate your support. So thank you so much for subscribing and returning to watch me week after week. I really do appreciate your support. All right, that is almost dry. Let's lift that. And again, from a distance, I will blow because I don't want to move the ink. I just want to dry it. So I want just kind of a breeze over top of everything. All right, so now I'm going to hit this with my heat gun. Again, remember when you're working on Yupo paper, you don't want to hold that heat gun in the same position for too long because it will melt your paper. But we've got some thicker areas of alcohol there now due to the pooling, so I just want to make sure it's good and dry before I move on to my next step. There we go. I was just checking to make sure all those little spots that still kind of look like they're wet are dry, and they are dry. I'm going to put the lid on my alcohol. These bottles are wonderful. I'll leave them below in the store, a link to the store where I bought them. From. I like that there's a little pin that has to go back in the nozzle. When you're working with alcohol, it's not that big of a deal as alcohol won't plug up the nozzle. But if you're, excuse me, I got a frog. But if you're using it for glues or anything like that, that little needle would be a definite bonus. All right, so now what are we going to do with the rest of this? Well, let's draw some lines on here. Why? Because we can. Because we can doodle. And let's do some doodles here. So, make sure my ruler's sort of lined up. I'm just using a Sharpie. Sharpies are alcohol-based markers, so they will draw on Yupo paper, and they will draw over the alcohol ink. Every once in a while you will need to just take your tip and clean it off. I know some of you are probably getting tired of looking at my dirty stained paper underneath, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me. I'll leave that for probably another couple of projects yet and let the sprays and the stains and the inks continue to stain that, make that dirty, and then I will incorporate it into some of my junk journals as background papers and stuff. And let's do one more line underneath. We'll make this line here in between length. This one I want to make a really long line there, and then this maybe just a really short line. Let's make this one a little bit longer here. Sorry, I'm whispering as I talk to myself. Do you do that too? Do you talk to yourself in your studio? I like the doodles. I always think that doodles really, sometimes when you're not sure if you're done a project or not, if you do a doodle, it tends to just really finish it off. And like I said, just got to clean that tip off your marker every once in a while just to make sure it's good. Nice. All right. Next line up. And then the last There we go. What do you think? How's that looking? Can you see those lines? Probably not unless I hold it up for you. Now I want to put some white lines in here. If you're worried about doing freehand circles, because let's face it, circles are hard. Maybe they're just hard for me. Don't be afraid to put your glass, especially once your alcohol is all dry. Put your glass back down. I'm using the Sukura Jelly Roll Pen, and I'm going to trace around my cup and trace the outline of my circle. And that's going to give me this great white highlight all the way around. Here, let me move you in just a little bit closer for this. I'm not sure if you can see. There we go. Still figuring out that camera, how far to have it and how close to have it to what I'm working on. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing, but I don't want to make you dizzy moving you in and out all the time either. Trying to find that happy medium. All right. Let's do this one. Finally, this big one down here. Perfect. All right, now let's take that little lid and let's do the same thing. Can you see those? Can you see that white highlight in there? I'm not sure how well that camera's picking it up, but trust me, it does make a difference to how things look. And finally this one over here. Nice. And again, I was off camera, my apologies. So, what else do I want to do? Well, I am really liking what I've got going on. Is it anything in particular? Is it a picture? Is it going to be something I put into my art journal book? No, it's just a fun, random play piece. And something like this I would take and stick into a little picture frame because it's just an abstract piece of art. Sometimes those abstract pieces of art are really, really fun to create. I think I want to create just some more random drops of color throughout the piece. So I'm going to put a little bit of my limeade green into my paint palette over here on the side. And I'm going to put some random green alcohol dots in. Can you see those green dots growing where I've laid them down? There we go. And they're just going to take and do their own thing. All right. And then over here on this green side, let's do some of the purple. So I'm going to drop the wild plum in my paint palette. I'll wipe the green off the end of my stick. And let's drop some purple dots down. Sometimes they don't move real well, so you just want to help them along. And then let's go down here to this big one over here. All right. Sorry about that, my camera just turned itself off. All right, so I've got my dots down where I want them. I think I'm happy with those dots. I do want a little bit more texture in there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that rubbing alcohol dish in and my fan brush. And I'm going to just very carefully in certain areas just put a few little splatters into the background just to move some of that ink. I don't want a ton of it. just a little bit to create some more interest in the background. I really kind of like, there we go. Can you see those blooms as they happen? Nice. All right, so that is basically it for the video today. I hope you really enjoyed what I did, what I created. I know abstract art is not for everyone, but I encourage you to give it a try. You never know what you might create and fall in love with. Until next time. Oh, and don't forget to check out the links down below to the Mixed Media Emporium Facebook groups page, Nina Rubina's YouTube channel, and Kylie Koo's studio channel down. All those links will be down below. Thank you. Bye-bye.